Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to see everyone this morning. It's good to be back. As always, I'm trying to pack a lot into a small amount of time. So let me just jump into it. Thanks for calling me out about the MLK thing. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
It actually fits quite nicely in with today's message, right? I was recently listening to MLK's work just as a part of my studies, and came across his last official, if you will, sermon, right? So, February 4th, 1968, King speaks eloquently on what he calls the drum major instinct. Right? And King describes the drum major instinct as this inherent human need to be out in front. Right? You see the connection, right? The irony in the connection. This inherent human need to be recognized for our value and for our work. And the ways in which this desire to be recognized can indeed lead us into some behaviors that are below what we are truly called here to do. So I will spend a little more time on that piece shortly, but what I wanted to do today was to borrow both from King, but also from a few other folks, to discuss the notion of what it means to be a person of faith who's also committed to social justice, and how one ties into the other. I have for a long time been in the presence of activists, academics, spiritual leaders, and one of the things that continues to come up, one of the themes that we continue to revisit is the idea that to be an activist is to be tired. Now, I don't know about you, but lately, I've always been, at least in my adult life, I've always considered myself to be a political junkie, a news junkie. But that habit that I've developed over time, I think, is slowly raising my blood pressure to dangerous levels. We're, what, 100, let's say 120 days in, 130 days in, and I already feel like it's been 2 terms.
Yeah.
And so I'm tired, but I can't stop watching. That's the junkie part. I gotta get my fix, right? And I mean, I'm refreshing my news feed every 10 minutes. Just holding my breath. And every time I do, I say, okay, you should probably stop doing this more often because you never like what you see. And you're always screaming at your own computer. Your kids are looking at you funny. My guinea pig runs and hides under something. But I can't stop. It's like that car accident, right? You know it's gruesome, but you gotta see it. It is at times like this that I am reminded of the usefulness of faith. And I'm also reminded of the folly inherent in that drum major instinct, right? I'm a big comic book person, too. I'm a nerd that way. And so, Hollywood has finally caught up to me and given me plenty to feed on. But I think part of that love affair that I have with those superheroes is the idea that ideally I would be able to don my cape and collar and run out here and make it all better for everybody on my own. Right? So there's a running joke at the office that, I'm Batman. Nobody else would own that, but that's okay. I know who I am. Let me thank you, first of all, for inviting me back. I really appreciate it. I always love to be here. Yes, I was a little salty that I missed MLK Day, but I remember being surprised at myself for feeling a little salty. Right? I was surprised at myself, like, why do I feel this way? And what I came to realize was it was that instinct. It was that drum major instinct. That's my Sunday. What do you mean I'm not coming? What? I've been coming for 5 years now. What do you mean no? You start checking your phone, make sure it's working, right? There's plenty to be scared of. There's plenty to be nervous about. You're not crazy if you feel trepidation, because there's plenty out there to feel that way about. And per usual, my goal here today is to both frighten and inspire. And I don't know why you keep inviting me back, but apparently you're sadist. I'm a numbers person sometimes, hate math, but love numbers. The U.S. has revived a 60-year beef with the Korean Peninsula. And now it's clear that our arms race is in full effect. Meanwhile, Mr. Scott Pruitt, who is an avid climate change denier, has been put in charge of the EPA, which he has sued 14 times. 43 nonviolent dreamers have been deported between January 20th and March 25th. Folks who felt assured that their status would leave them protected, and instead have now been pulled away from everyone they've known and loved all their lives. Hate crimes have risen dramatically. The SPLC has cataloged 1,051 confirmed incidences in the first month since he took office. Let me repeat that, 1,051 in the first month since this new administration. And a quick search on their website registers most recently, right up till May 15th, 4,119 separate hate crimes. Right now, the White House is currently in a civil war with its own executive branch. We see the FBI, the CIA, and NSA all in consternation with their own president. Meanwhile, Russia continues to act with impunity after obviously interfering with our elections here and all over the Western world. While 24 million Americans continue to teeter on the idea that they may indeed lose their health care at some point in the very near future. Neil Gorsuch has been named to the Supreme Court. He'll be around for a while, we assume. This is a man who said that sincerely held religious beliefs are enough for the terms of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act to apply. Meaning, as long as I say I really believe what I mean, and I mean what I say, no matter how bigoted it is, I have a right to apply it, because it is my sincerely held belief. Rape culture, the idea that we actively and collectively encourage a lack of agency for a woman and her body, has found a champion in our White House. We've heard from our own president things said in public out loud that would have only been acceptable roughly 150 years ago, if even then. Millions of people all over the world wait with bated breath as the courts continue to ponder the constitutionality of Trump's now 6-country travel ban. The U.S. has lost close to $1.3 billion in tourism since the travel bans were implemented, or at least attempted. Meanwhile, Mar-a-Lago has cost the U.S. taxpayer $3.7 million per trip. Per trip. There is no question that right now Things are up in the air. Things are making us nervous. People are having both imagined and very real impacts by the policies and procedures that we see every day, or in my case, every few minutes. However, as we continue to watch the news, as we continue to have the conversations, as we continue to organize, I want to encourage you today to keep your faith central to everything that you do. And I want to ask you to reflect and root out within you your version of that drum major instinct. I would argue that what we see in the White House is nothing more than a collective consciousness created by us as a whole. And if we do not like what we see in the mirror, it is best that we begin from within and root out the very thing that we plainly hate so much. The White House has become a lightning rod for everything that we find disgusting in our world today. Much easier to find a lightning rod than it is to deal with the components of ourselves that have contributed to the reality we see in front of us right now. I'm so busy clicking that news feed every 10 minutes, but the question is, have I done the same for myself? Have I clicked my own internal news feed, checked in with myself, and asked myself, how have I contributed to rape culture in the United States? How have I contributed to the homophobia? How have I contributed to the poverty, the ignorance, the fear? Because surely I have. As much as I would like to stand before you and pretend that I got it all figured out, I would be the first to admit I do not. I would be the first to admit that sometimes I don't want to figure it out. Because sometimes the drum major instinct within me tells me that what I'm about to say and or do is okay, and my mind has gotten really good at justifying the actions that I take. I'm brilliant in that way. Oh my God, I can do anything and justify it. Well, you know, anytime well is the first word out your mouth. Let that be a verbal red flag to you that something needs to be checked. And it's okay to do the both and. I'm big on the both and. I'm not suggesting that I have so much internal work to do that I cannot also focus on what I see in front of me. I'm not suggesting that my activism has to stop. I'm suggesting that it has to start from within and then go out from there. Amen. That the better I make myself, the better I contribute to the world in which I live. And the only way that I'm capable of doing that is to walk in faith. Is to walk in the idea that no matter what I was yesterday, I can be better today. No matter who I've let down, it's never too late as long as I have breath in my body to go back, rectify, and help pick them back up. To say I'm sorry when I need to. To ask for help when I know I need it. To not allow my pride to interfere with my ability to do what is right. Convenience is a monster. And every time I refresh that news feed, there's a part of me, a teeny part of me, I think, that feels gratified in the ego. Because I'm not doing that crazy. They are. They are. They are powerful. They do all the bad things. We never do. It's always they. And we've gotten hip to the game that some of our opponents, if you will, play, right? We've gotten hip to this game where we understand that sometimes they use fear to divide us. They tell us who the bad guys are. they tell the truth to fear. However, I would argue that every one of us in this room has had a similar process and conversation and followed that lead within yourself. That they do not have a monopoly on that line of thinking. Because to be honest, there is no they. As much as I hate to say it myself, there is no they. I found that children's story so profound. I found myself like leaning in and beginning to wonder if I could, I don't know, make a reservation to go to the White House for the tour. Maybe I'll just happen to bump into Don and give him a hug and say, "Do you want to play with me?" When was the last time somebody said, "Hey, I don't want your money, I just want to hang out for a while, talk to you"? I bet you it's been a while. Okay, it's been a while that an American has done it. Who don't count? Fair enough. There are a few things connected to faith that I want to share, and please allow me to share them at length. Right? I don't know about you, but I am tired already. But I understand that I have to last at least as long as those who I would confront. Right? I can't get so burnt out that I become useless to the very people who are counting on me. Well, how do we do that? How do we sustain? And I think part of the way we sustain is to remember why we do it in the first place. Right? And to understand that we might have certain opportunities, certain freedoms, certain privileges that then imbue us with responsibility. Right? Comic book reference again, Uncle Ben and Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. Right? Going back even further, Brother Paul, in the letter to Galatians, right? Galatians 5:13, he said, "You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly and in love." It's a lofty call. Right? Your faith is what sustains you, and it is your service that maintains you. You understand? And it's not just from a religious tradition that we hear this. It is also rooted in an activist tradition that goes back centuries. One of the most amazing things I think that is so under-talked about, for instance, is that activist tradition as embodied in Harriet Tubman. The more I learn about Sister Tubman, the more amazed I am. It takes heart to run away from the system and to run into the north. That takes heart. That's risk. But to do it 19 times. To do it 19 separate times. Not for self. Right? But to usher others. Wow. That's service. That's a dedication to service. When we think about some of the greatest figures historically, let's use Jesus, for instance. Service leadership in action, right there, right? That was his main thing. I garner followers not by what I say in front of people, not by leading in the front, but by leading in the back. Not by empowering myself, but by empowering you so that you can show up and be a better version of yourself until finally you embody that which is in me. Let me be an example unto you of what it means to put others first. And by putting others first, they flock to me. And the circle is completed. Fast forward chronologically, back to MLK. This is 2 months before the day he was assassinated, and by this point he had already been receiving calls on a regular basis, on a daily basis, several calls a day, threatening his life. So at this point, as he's giving this speech, he's well aware that his days are numbered. And yet he continues to go out and do the work. It is in that context, that prophetic context of understanding that his days are numbered, that he says, if any of you happen to be around when I have to meet my day, I don't want a long funeral, and if you get somebody to deliver the eulogy, tell them not to talk for too long. And every now and then, I wonder what it would mean when I die, and I wonder what I want them to say. Tell them not to mention that I have a Nobel Peace Prize, because that's not important. Tell them not to mention that I have 300 or 400 other awards, because that's not important. Tell them not to mention where I went to school. I'd like somebody to mention on that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to give his life serving others. I'd like for somebody to say on that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love somebody. I want you to say on that day that I tried to be right on the war question. I want you to be able to say on that day that I tried to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, visit the sick, visit those who were in prison. I want you to say that I tried to love and serve humanity. That was the last time he gave an official sermon in the church. And 2 months later, he would be shot and killed on the balcony. Fast forward yet again. One of my contemporary heroes, right? Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Right? She said, my spirit tells me I cannot be silent. I must address this so-called president no matter where it takes me. Fearlessness. Service. That's faith. Right? I'm going to move into closing, and I hope you would indulge me. I wanted to read something to you at length. One of my favorite contemporary authors is a gentleman by the name of Neil Walsh. And in one of his books, Conversations with God, he's having this debate, this dialogue, right? And he says to that God figure, right, that he's speaking with and dialoguing with, he says, when you talk about acting in love, you make it sound so easy, and yet in the moment of decision, fear wins more often than not. Why is that? And the reply that he receives is what I would like to share with you at night. You have been taught to live in fear. You have been told about the survival of the fittest and the victory of the strongest and the success of the cleverest. But precious little is said about the glory of the most loving. And so you strive to be the fittest, the strongest, the cleverest in one way or another. And if you see yourself as something less than this in any situation, you fear loss. For you have been told that to be less is to lose. And so, of course, you choose the action that fear sponsors. For that is what you have been taught, yet I teach you this. When you choose the action that love sponsors, then you will do more than survive, then you will do more than win, then you will do more than succeed. Then you will experience the full glory of who you really are and who you can be. To do this, you must turn aside the teachings of your well-meaning but misinformed worldly tutors and hear the teachings of those words whose wisdom comes from another source. There are many such teachers among you, as always there have been, for I will not leave you without those who will show you, teach you, guide you, and remind you of these truths. Yet the greatest reminder is not anyone outside of you, but the voice within you. This is the first tool that I use because it is the most accessible. The voice within is the loudest voice with which I speak because it is the closest to you. It is the voice which tells you whether everything else is true or false, right or wrong, good or bad, as you have defined. It is the radar that sets the course, steers the ship, guides the journey, if you but let it. It is the voice which tells you right now whether the very words you are hearing are words of love or words of fear. And by this measure, can you determine whether or not these words are to be heeded or ignored? In closing, I will say this. You all have taken a lifelong journey to commit yourselves to be people of faith. We are living in trying times, and I'm here to tell you that you are here during these times because you are perfect for these times, and I don't care how hard it gets. Please understand that if it were not for you, we would not have a chance of moving beyond the things that we detest. It is not a coincidence that this time period has chosen you to be in it. But it doesn't matter if you don't own it. And I'm calling on you, I'm calling on myself to own it. Own your place right now. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you can run, walk, talk, and see. You would not be here right now in this moment if we didn't need what you and only you have to give. But the only way I'm going to get it out of you is if you dig deep and give it to me. So I'm calling on you to dig deep. I'm calling on you to see past the fear. I'm calling on you to hold strong to your faith and allow your faith to push you in the direction that feels right for you, trusting that if everybody in this room did that collectively, this world would be a much better place than it already is. No one can sit on the sideline in this one. I need each and every one of you to put aside your fear and step up. And that doesn't mean sign up on some random sheet and jump on some random bus and go down to a random city and march in a random march. That's not what I'm advocating. You don't even have to change your daily routine to do what I'm talking about. In the moment where you feel challenged, in the moment where you feel afraid, that's the moment I'm asking for you to dig deep in and to show up as a new person, a healed person, a whole person, a loving person, and be an example unto those who would pull something else out of us altogether differently. If we're going to change this world, it's going to start with the moment, the minuscule. It's not the history books. That stuff comes later. That's why we call it history. It's what you do right now. And none of it is insignificant. Every conversation matters. Every act that you take, every word that you let out of your mouth matters. Remember that. And walk in the faith that you have. And watch that faith grow. Watch that flame become a torch, become a fire, become an inferno, become a star. We need your light. There's nothing wrong with the drum major instinct when it's rooted in the light. You were given that instinct for a reason. I'm asking you to use it. We need you now more than ever. Thank you.